The Book of Enoch keeps a calendar. The Jerusalem temple refused to run. 364 days, measured by the sun alone, never by the moon. If suppressed history and the texts they remove from Scripture are what you came for, subscribe right now and hit the bell. This channel goes straight to the manuscripts, and the fragment numbers mainstream scholarship never connects. Now, let's go deeper. The Book of Enoch was pushed out of nearly every canon. Councils let it fall away. Rome kept it out. The rabbis kept it out. And for centuries, the West forgot it entirely. Yet inside it, untouched, sits a whole section the scribes gave its own name, the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, chapters 72 through 82. That is where the calendar lives. Not a myth, a working document. It was preserved whole in Gaius, the old sacred tongue of Ethiopia, guarded for over 1,000 years in the churches at Aksum. Europe only got it back in 1773, when the Scottish traveler James Bruce carried 3 copies out of Ethiopia and set them down in front of a continent that had buried the text. Then the ground gave up something older. At Qumran, in the caves above the Dead Sea, they found this same astronomy in Aramaic. Fragments catalogued 4Q208 through 4Q211. Among the oldest Enoch material in existence, older than the surviving copies of the Watchers. The calendar predates the angels. Here is what chapter 72 actually maps. The sun rises and sets through gates, 6 gates in the east, 6 in the west. It climbs to the far gate in summer, sinks to the near gate in winter, and the whole year runs 364 days. 12 months of 30, clean, ordered, repeating. But 30 times 12 is 360. That leaves 4 days. Enoch does not lose them. He slots 1 day at the turn of each season, the epagomenal days, named in chapter 75, verse 1, and again in chapter 82, verses 4 through 6. 4 days that belong to no month. Hold on to those 4 days. Now watch what that number does. 364 divides cleanly by 7. Divide it yourself. 364, split by 7. 52, exactly. No remainder, ever. 52 weeks, and the year snaps shut on the same weekday it opened. Think about what that means for worship. Every festival falls on the same day of the week, every single year. Passover never wanders. The Day of Atonement never slides. And no priest is ever needed to stand on a rooftop, sight the first sliver of the new moon, and declare a month begun. The calendar runs itself. That is the problem. A clock nobody has to wind is a clock nobody controls. And Enoch is not alone in keeping it. There is a second book that keeps this same count, and it does not simply record it. In the Book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verses 32 through 38, the solar year is commanded, and everyone who follows the moon is cursed. The curse is spelled out. Jubilees, chapter 6, verses 32 through 38, commands the year of 364 days, and it does not stop there. It warns that the ones who follow the moon will disturb the seasons. The feasts will fall wrong. A sacred day kept as an ordinary one. An ordinary day kept as holy. Read plainly, this is not a squabble about dates. It is worship landing on the wrong day. The whole nation bowing at the wrong hour, thinking it is right. Now watch the count leave the page and become a way of life. At Qumran, the community did not just copy this year, they ran it. The Mishmarot texts 4Q320 and 4Q321 take the solar year and lock it to the rotation of the 24 priestly courses. Each course served its week in the temple, then handed off to the next. The fragments sync that rotation, week by week, to the 364-day cycle. The sun's count written straight into the machinery of who serves God and when. And they knew exactly what they were doing, because the quarrel is on record. 4QMMT preserves it. a letter, laying out where this community broke with the temple establishment. And the calendar is right there in the dispute. This was not a private preference kept quiet in the desert. It was a documented fight about which clock heaven actually keeps. Here is the word the whole fight turns on. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. The sun and the stars are set for the Moadim, the appointed times. That word comes from the root ya'ad, to meet, to fix by appointment. Enoch's calendar claims to hold the true Moadim, times fixed in heaven, not declared by men. Read the root again, ya'ad, to meet. An appointment fixed in heaven, not a date a priest gets to declare. The sun runs its gates on its own count. The moon has to be sighted, judged, announced. One answers to the sky. The other answers to a man with the authority to say the month has begun. Whoever names the day owns the festival. Before we move on, stop for a second. What you just heard is the part that changes everything, but it only makes sense written out next to the original notation. The passages, the chapter cross-references, the translated text, I put all of it into a written document. It's linked below, and the QR code is on your screen. Take 5 seconds, grab it, and come back, because what comes next builds directly on it. Now, the mainstream answer. Scholars call 364 merely schematic, an ideal. A tidy number, they say, never meant to run, because it drifts against the real solar year by a day and a quarter each cycle. Leave it alone, and within a lifetime your festivals slide off the seasons entirely. But press on that, and it cracks. The fragments do not show a symbol. They show a community that ran this calendar for real, year after year, against the temple, and paid for it. A schematic you knew would drift is not the kind of thing you fight the priesthood over. You do not break with Jerusalem for a pretty number. 3 witnesses now hold the same count: Enoch, Jubilees, and the Qumran fragments, and all 3 treat it as true, not tidy, which raises the thing they never say out loud. There is one passage where this calendar does not just keep time, it comes apart. Chapter 80, verses 2 through 8, where in the days of the sinners the years grow short, the moon changes its order, and the stars leave their paths. Read it slowly, because Enoch does not describe the sky falling. He describes the sky losing its count. In the days of the sinners, the text records, the years grow short. The moon alters its order and does not come at its proper time. The stars leave their paths, and many mistake them for gods and go astray after them. Chapter 80, verses 2 through 8. Hold that against everything the calendar was. This is not fire from heaven. It is the clock itself coming apart. In Enoch, the calendar breaking is the sign the age is ending. Now the text records the breakdown. What it means is where I come in. The 364-day year was not buried because it was wrong. It was buried because it could not be governed. Look at what it actually did. A year fixed by the sun, 12 months, and 1 extra day set at the turn of each season. A count that divides cleanly by 7, 52 weeks, every festival on the same weekday forever. A clock like that needs no one. No priest climbs a roof to sight a thin moon. No court declares the month begun. The day arrives on its own, decided in advance, decided above. And a calendar that runs itself takes something from the men who used to start it. It takes the power to decide when the nation worships. Whoever names the day owns the festival, and this calendar named the day for them. So here is what those 364 days were built to track. It was not tracking the harvest or the market. It was tracking a heavenly order. The true Moadim, the appointed times fixed in heaven, an order no priest could move by a single day. That is the answer under the title. A year measured by the sun answered to something no man could adjust, and a priesthood built on declaring the month would rather that answer stayed unwritten. You do not fight for the right to name the day if the day is already named. 3 witnesses keep this count. Enoch lays out the gates of the sun. Jubilees commands the count and curses the moon followers. And at Qumran, the community wrote it into their priestly courses and quarreled with the temple over it in ink. 3 records, 1 number, the sun's count held against the moon's. And 1 4th day nobody wanted counted, slotted quietly at each season's turn. 3 witnesses, Enoch, Jubilees, and the Qumran fragments. Tell me in the comments which one carries the most weight for you. Now think about what should have happened to it. A calendar the most powerful priesthood in Jerusalem refused to keep should have died with the men who kept it. It did not. It was preserved in Ge'ez at Aksum and in Aramaic at Qumran, copied and buried and carried across centuries, waiting in a highland church and a desert cave long after everyone who wanted it gone was dust. The temple is gone. The moon court is gone. The 364-day year is still readable, verse by verse, gate by gate. Which leaves one last question. Enoch does not only keep the count, he says he was shown it, the gates, the paths, the whole order of the lights above. Someone taught him to read them. Someone taught men to read the heavens in the first place, subscribe, and keep hitting the bell. The next question is the one under all of this. That is where we go next. Who did the teaching and what they wanted men to see?